Amongst all the shonen manga series that I've watched, there is no series with an attitude like Bleach. It's one of those manga series that just works, even when there are criticizing voices all around it. A lot of that credit goes to how the characters are written. More specifically, the side characters and their respective arcs make reading Bleach an entertaining experience. Now, within the list of side characters in Bleach, there is no one as influential and entertaining to watch as Kenpachi Zaraki. If I were to talk about old Kenny, I would call him a seinen character who's trapped in the world of shonen. It's as though he's training to fight Guts or Musashi from Vagabond, cause you already know where Guts is from. I say this because not only are his fights more brutal and exciting than any other character in the series, his personality and the way that the man has lived showcase layers in him that are worth talking about.
Kenpachi had a rough childhood in the most dangerous district of the Rukongai, but he was equipped to handle it. As a kid, he grew up killing several opponents with a sword he picked off of a dead Shinigami. He eventually fought Unohana, who was a captain, and held back his power in order to extend the fight. This would become a recurring habit. His background of combat and killing has visible effects on his personality in the present. He is obsessed with battle and he passes this passion down to his subordinates in the 11th Division. His design also reflects this. The ripped Haori sleeves gives off an unpolished look and shows disinterest in tradition or authority. The scar and eye patch, along with his chipped katana, sends the message that he's been through a lot of battles, and his towering height at 6'7" adds to his menacing aura. I think that one of the reasons he's a fan favorite character is because of how enthusiastic and straightforward he is. Unlike his fellow captains, he doesn't give off the feeling that he's more important than others. He just enjoys a good battle and is cool with anyone who can give that to him. Another big reason why he's so beloved is because of how epic he is. Most captains get their position by learning Bankai or recommendations, and all of the current captains have Bankai. He's the only current captain to not have had a Bankai or Shikai and have gotten his status by killing the previous captain. As I mentioned before, in the past he fought on equal footing with Captain Unohana, who was previously the worst criminal in Soul Society then.
Kenpachi has been a certified badass ever since he was first introduced. What really made him stand out from the rest of the fray, no disrespect to them, was the way he toyed with the main character, Ichigo Kurosaki, during the Soul Society arc. We already know how nicely the arc introduced us to the wider world of Bleach, but that fight is the one that sealed the deal. At the time, Ichigo didn't have any special powers. He hadn't even talked to Zangetsu, his Zanpakuto, and didn't have the bells and whistle power-ups that he's become infamous for. He was simply a shonen character looking for his friend. We rooted for Ichigo to win. Kenpachi, the mad lad himself, on the other hand, was itching for a fight, which we later find out he always does. Even after realizing Ichigo was weaker than him, he gave him a chance to power up. For the battle, he sacrificed the mission given to him by the Soul Society. When the battle started heating up, he even took off his eye patch to enjoy the fighting against Ichigo's new power-up. While the fight was a tie between the two, it showed the lengths that Kenpachi was willing to go to quench his thirst for a fight.
His passion is taken so far that he was willing to turn on his fellow captains just to get a rematch against Ichigo during the Soul Society arc.
This isn't an exaggeration on the part of Kenpachi. His fight with Neutra Gilga is another example of how much he's able to push just to fight and defeat his enemies. Neutra Gilga, the Arankar with an impenetrable body, was one of the most interesting matchups with the likes of Kenpachi. Even when Neutra tells him about his powers, he continues to cut him, slashing and raging to the point of exhaustion. At one point, it starts to resemble as though Kenny is trying to cut through a brick wall that just keeps getting erected back again. But that doesn't deter him from the fight. A smart individual, he wasn't just cutting Neutra for the sake of it. He was getting used to fighting the type of enemy that Neutra was. He eventually finds out how to defeat him. Instead of using his one-handed sword, Kenny uses two hands and then cuts down his opponent with ease. A victory for Kenny, this battle showed not just his bronze, but his brains as well. In his fight against the Espada member Yami Largo, he toyed a lot, showing off his abilities to Byakuya Kuchiki. After Yami was down for the count, he even teased Byakuya to finish him off, which the latter thought was beneath him. In both instances, once the opponent was defeated, Kenpachi leaves him be since he doesn't consider them worthy enough for a fight.
He defeats a captain using Bankai and an Espada using Resurrection with just a Zanpakuto. His fighting style reflects his personality. He simply dominates his opponents with raw power and immense spiritual pressure.
Now, all of what we've discussed here regarding Kenny's fights might make him out to be a very cool character, and that's true to some degree. But the real tour de force of Kenpachi Zaraki was showed in the final arc of Bleach, the 1000-year Blood War arc.
The astonishments he pulls off in the final arc only add to the list. All of these things make him a character that grabs the attention of viewers.
This is an arc that deserves an entire video of itself. It's that powerful. Almost all the Bleach characters got serious power-ups during this arc, and Kenny's no exception to that. When the Wonderreich invade, the Soul Society gets into action. Kenpachi, being one of the most powerful commanders of the society, takes on 3 high-tier Wonderreich members and defeats them with relative ease. However, even if he's flying high with victories, he still loses to the leader Yuach, who nearly kills him. What's even cooler about this entire scene in the manga is that Kenpachi, being a powerhouse himself, is saved by the commander of the entire Soul Society, Genjurusai Yamamoto. But that battle wasn't the end. In fact, it was the beginnings of Kenny's most amazing power-up to date.
In the 1000-year Blood War arc, he gets most of his development in the story. There are 2 things Kenpachi has been doing since his first fight: holding back, knowingly or unknowingly, and not hearing Nozarashi's voice. The war against the Quincy's fixes both of these. His battle against Unohana helped him return to his old self before he started unconsciously suppressing his true power. Only by dying several times in battle does he reach this point. After this, he's finally able to hear Nozarashi, his Zanpakuto. Recently, Kubo went into detail about his Zanpakuto. Apparently, Nozarashi has the appearance of an adult woman and was trying and failing to talk to Kenpachi, so she split a small part of herself off and sent her to physically contact her owner. This was Yachiru.
His training battle with Retsu Unohana and him officially inheriting the title of Kenpachi just shows how entertaining Bleach can be. Reading the fight, I felt as though I was reading something directly out of Berserk. It's also at this point that we see Kenpachi interacting with his Zanpakuto, something he's never done before. After the training sequence, Kenpachi heads down onto the battlefield. He takes on a Quincy named Gwemi, whom he eventually defeats. One of the most interesting parts about this fight is the face Kenpachi makes when he's about to face a giant meteorite heading towards him.
In his battle against Gwemi, he unleashes the power of Nozarashi for the first time. Yachiru disappears after this activation and briefly comes back once more when he uses his Bankai.
Afterwards, he takes on another high-ranking Quincy named Gerard. This is the point where he finally awakens his Bankai, which is a treat in and of itself to watch.
Both of these abilities give him even more raw power, keeping consistency with his fighting style up until now. In his Bankai, he finally goes all out, so much so that he begins breaking his own body.
Within the list of Bleach characters, Kenpachi demonstrates madness in its purest form. Yes, while there are layers to his character arc, considering how he was fighting at a young age and his adoption of Yachiru, all of them are overshadowed by the sheer intensity of this man.
I want to thank the Fiction Bros for collaborating on this video with me. Please check out their channel, their link should be in the description. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and check out my manga for free online. If you enjoy my content, please consider donating to my Patreon. All important links will be in the description.